So, Jonathan, you're an Englishman who decided to live and work in France. Where did you grow up in England?
I grew up. I was born in Liverpool, in the northwest of England, but I spent most of my childhood in the Midlands, in the smallest county in England, which is called Rutland.
Now, so that's a number of years you've been living in southwest France. Is there anything about life in England, in Liverpool or the Midlands that you miss?
People. I wouldn't say anything particularly about the life or the lifestyle, but yes, friends, family. That is something that's difficult to do without, because particularly the age that I left my country, I was 24, so basically all my formative years were spent in England, and now I live in France. So the real friendships that we make in life and the real connections to family, I've left all those behind, and there are times when that's something that I miss. Yes.
So it's the human element.
It is.
There's nothing about particularly the way of life or the culture in England that
No.
you probably remember.
No, no. That's not to criticise England, but it's something that I find it's easy to adapt to changes in lifestyle and changes in culture. It's more difficult to adapt to changes in the people with whom we interact.
And you came over to France at the age of 24 for a summer, and you obviously had this thunderbolt. You fell in love with the place. What was it about the area or the way of life that made you want to stay?
It was this. I suppose I came from London, and I found myself in the Landes Forest, which is the biggest man-made forest, I think, in all of Europe. So, in terms of the contrast in atmosphere, and it couldn't have been greater. And I think I just felt comfortable. It wasn't something that at the age of 24, I didn't really sort of sit down and think logically through it. I didn't make any comparisons with what I'd known before. It just felt comfortable to me, and I just wanted to explore a bit more, and I wanted to stay a bit longer. I didn't actually make the conscious decision at that time, I want to stay here, I want to make my life here. I just wanted to stay a bit longer because I felt very comfortable and I was enjoying it. But so I would say the biggest thing was the space, just the sense of space.
And you're a sportsman. You're a windsurf instructor. You played rugby. Is sport a more important way of life, or part of life, should I say, in this part of the world?
It's certainly an easier part. It's for example, a slightly trivial and superficial example would be, I used to play rugby in England. The position in which I played rugby in England, which was fullback, I would very rarely touch the ball for 4 or 5 months in the year, simply because of the weather. It's a game where the ball would be kept amongst a small group of people, the forwards, and then kicked a lot. I came to France and started playing rugby, and throughout the season, the ball would be passed, and so I would take part in the game more, and so I would enjoy it more.
Right.
So it sounds trivial, but when it's something that is an important part of your life, which it was for me, that sport, to be able to enjoy it that much more seemed important.
And what other sports are important in southwest France apart from rugby?
Well, the most important is it's a sport which is specific to this area, which is called pelote basque, which is a game which the easiest way to describe it would be to make a relationship with real tennis.
Yeah.
Where it's played in a court which is very sort of asymmetrical, has walls on one side, a little roof going round the other side. But whereas real tennis has a net in the middle and people hit across the net, this is played more like squash.
Yeah.
With doubles against a wall at the front.
This is an ancient game.
It is an ancient game, yes. It's the traditional game for this area.
But it's not dying out. People still play it.
Oh no, they're still building courts. That's where the comparison with real tennis falls down. In that real tennis has become very much a niche sport in the UK. Pelote basque is growing all the time.
Right. Okay. What other sports are popular in the area?
The other sports that are popular is really all sort of outdoor sports. A lot of mountain biking, for example, because it's so easy to just leave home. You don't have to get in the car, put the bikes on the back of the car and drive to find the space and the terrain to be able to enjoy it. Most people can simply get on their bike at home, cycle for 5 minutes, and they're into the sort of the sort of paths and the hills that you need to enjoy that kind of activity. So any outdoor activity is much easier to do here
because of the landscape, because of the climate.
Mm.
And I mean, I heard that basketball as well is very popular in the Landes and
yes, it has been. Yes, it has been. That's sort of there's a club in the sort of the biggest basketball club in France, which became quite a mythical entity because it was a little bit of an Asterix situation where there was a very small market town produced a basketball club that actually won a European trophy at one point. And so it built up a whole tradition around, but the tradition came more from the success of that club than from a love of the sport of basketball. Now that club is less successful. The game of basketball, the popularity of basketball, has started to decrease in the area. So it's not as fundamental as Pelote Basque, for example, which I don't think could ever die out.
Right. Okay. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us.
It was a pleasure.